guys, so I'm here with my November reading wrap up. I can't believe we're in December. I actually can't believe where the time has gone. This year has just flown by so fast. I know everyone is saying that in their videos, but it genuinely has just flown by so fast. Like, I can't even believe where the year has gone. First of all, how'd you like my Hogwarts sweatshirt? I'm loving this sweatshirt. It's super comfortable. It's Harry Potter. Loving it. So, in November, I had a really good reading month. I was really happy with the amount of books that I read in November. I read 12 books, 5 physical books, 7 on my Kindle. Now, I don't have the covers of the Kindle books that I read to show you, but obviously I'm still going to name them and say what I thought about them, etc. So, the first book that I read in November was Breathe by Abby Glines. This is the first book in her Seabreeze series, which I've been collecting. As soon as one's sort of come out, I've picked it up, but I haven't actually read any of them, so I started with this one. And I think this is the first book that she got published, I believe, or she wrote, something along those lines. I enjoyed it, but not as much as some of her other books. It's about a girl called Sadie. She's kind of poor. She's basically the adult. Her mum's a little bit immature, and she basically has to earn enough money to look after them. Her mum's pregnant, and so she needs to make sure that they've got enough food in the house, they've got enough money, things like that. And her mum basically she's almost like a child. She doesn't want to do anything. So Sadie gets a job as sort of like a maid, like type servant type thing, at this sort of mansion, and it's owned by the rock star Jack Stone, and then they kind of fall for each other. But I liked it, but for me it didn't develop very well. Like, the relationship between Jax and Sadie, I would have liked them to actually have more interaction, because they supposedly like have this great attraction and chemistry and they love each other, but actually they don't actually spend all that much time together. But I did still enjoy it, and I feel like, you know, if this was her first book, then obviously you've got to give her time to sort of develop that. And I do love Abby Glines. I love her Forever Too Far trilogy the best. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I gave it 3 out of 5. The next book that I read was for a blog tour sort of release date party thing. That helps. And it was on my Kindle, and it was Hard Time, and that was by Cara McKenna. This one was just sort of okay for me. I can't remember the names, you'll have to forgive me. It's about this woman, and she's sort of a librarian type thing, and she's got out of a really bad and abusive relationship, and she is doing sort of volunteer work with the library. She's a librarian, and so as part of her sort of schedule, she has to take over from this other woman, and she has to visit a prison and sort of teach lessons there, help in the library there. And while she's there, she meets a prisoner, and they sort of spark this relationship via sort of letters. They send each other forbidden letters that are sort of erotic in nature, and they both like get something from it because they know nothing can come of it. Obviously he's in prison, she's on the outside, and then it sort of throws them for a loop when he is set to be released, and she has to decide whether they can continue their relationship for real on the outside. It was okay for me. The character, she's sort of the main character, I couldn't relate to her very much. And then the guy, again, his name was Eric, there we go. He, I wish we had his point of view, because some of the things that he does or thinks or you know says, I think, what on earth, why would you risk going back to prison? So yeah, it was kind of a mixed bag for me, and I gave it 2 out of 5. The next book that I read was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. Again, this was on my Kindle, so I don't have a picture to show you. this is one of the best new adult novels I've ever read. It's one of my favourite books of the year, but we'll leave that for another video, shall we? That'll be coming up soon. I was absolutely floored by it. I saw it in someone's recommendations video. They said that it had such and such amount of positive reviews on Goodreads, and I was like, I've never heard of this. I like new adult, let's go look it up. Went to look it up, thought that sounds really good, downloaded it to my Kindle, absolutely fell in love with it. It's about a girl called Bree, and she witnessed a horrific attack, sort of like a home invasion, and her father was killed, so she's left sort of by herself. So I think she sells her family's business, the deli, I'm pretty sure she did, and she moves across the country somewhere remote to try and sort of get over it or heal from it. She ends up in a really small town, and there she meets Archer. Now Archer was in an accident when he was small and he can't speak, and no one around him, like no one in the town, bothers to try to communicate with him. They just think that, you know, he's sort of brain injured and that he's this strange guy. But Bree sort of takes the time to try and win him over, and she can communicate with him through sign language because her father was deaf. So he makes her feel safe, and she actually sort of opens up his world because she can communicate with him. And oh my god, I absolutely loved it. I have to read more by Mia Sheridan because just one of the best new adult novels ever. I'm thoroughly impressed by it. I gave it 5 out of 5. I did like that we had Archer's point of view. I sort of craved more of his point of view near sort of the beginning of the novel because it was mostly focused on Bree. So I would have liked more of his, but we did get his points of view in parts of the story, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. I can't recommend it enough. The next book that I read is a graphic novel, and that is The Exile by Diana Gabaldon. And it looks like this. Oh, the lighting is really bad in here. It's sort of throwing the light off because I have this sort of light here, and then it's not that late here in the UK. It's like 3:30, and it's like pitch black. It's just shit, really. Excuse my language, but it's really difficult to film, and it's going to be a nightmare. But anyway, The Exile by Diana Gabaldon. Really, really enjoyed this. You guys, if you've been following my channel, you guys know I'm sort of obsessed with Outlander at the moment. Have been for about 2 months. It's like taking over my life. It's all I really think about, all I really care about. That might be a slight exaggeration, but you get what I mean. So I read the first actual book of Outlander and really, really enjoyed it. And I've watched the 8 episodes of the TV show so far. So I was wanting to check this out. This is sort of the first book, well, half of the first book sort of retold, and we get Jamie's point of view, which we don't get in the book. The book is told in the point of view of Claire Fraser. Claire, what's her name? It's not Fraser. Oh my god, I can't remember her name. She becomes Claire Fraser, but what's her name before that? Oh my god, that's really going to irritate me. Randall. There we go. Claire Randall. She becomes Claire Fraser. But, oh my god. Just, oh my god. It was really, really good. I liked that we got Jamie's points of view in parts of it. I really, really appreciated that. And I liked how it was told in this graphic format. I think it gave the story something new, and it was a nice way to reread sort of half of the book without actually having to read that huge book. It was really, really good. I gave it 4.5 out of 5, and I really, really hope they make another graphic novel because it was really, really good. The next book that I read was Deluge, and this is by Lisa T. Berggren. This is the 5th and final book in the River of Time series. This was a hard one for me to read. It was like bittersweet because I knew I would love it, but I also knew that it was going to be the end. And as well, Lisa actually warned fans of the series that there's a lot of sort of mature content in it that some people weren't going to like what happened in it. And I thought that was nice of her to warn people, because this is a series you can leave it at the first 3 books if you want to. But I love the series so much, I knew I was going to carry on with it. And it was both wonderful and soul destroying. Oh, I'm still feeling the like emotions from this book. Obviously I don't want to spoil it for anybody that plans to read the series or hasn't read the series or whatever. If you haven't, I highly suggest that you read the series. It's nice that it is historical, but there's time travel, and you just it's a series everyone must read. Everyone must read it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. My favourites are still the first 3 books, but it was a great end to the series. The next book that I read was A Million Dirty Secrets by C.L. Parker. I read this because I was in a reading slump and I had no idea what to read. This is a 50 Shades of Grey wannabe. It wasn't bad, like plot-wise. The writing let it down in places because it just referenced sort of other stories, other like films like Pretty Woman and for some reason Indiana Jones, and it just kept referencing other things, which let it down. And also, I think the author tries to be funny. I don't know, if you've read 50 Shades of Grey, you'll know that the main character, Anastasia, in that refers to her inner goddess. The main character in this tries to do the same thing, and it's obvious, and it's not funny. It was okay. This is book 1 in a duology. I would read the second book just to know how things ended, because this ended on a cliffhanger. This was okay, but I actually preferred 50 Shades of Grey. I gave this 2 out of 5. And the next book that I read was on my Kindle, and it was Come Home for Christmas Cowboy by Megan Crane. This one, I requested this on NetGalley because this time of year I'm always looking for really cute, really fluffy reads around Christmas time, you know, that when December is a crazy month, you can just read it and, you know, it's just quick. This one was okay. It's about a husband and wife that have sort of drifted apart. The husband has pushed her away. She doesn't know why, and it gets to the point where she can't take it anymore and she moves out. He comes home, finds her gone, and actually goes after her, and it's trying to sort of understand why he's pushing her away. It was okay. It was really, really quick. I didn't think you actually got to know the characters very well, or their motivations, or really feel for them. I gave it 2 out of 5. It was okay, and I think if it had been fleshed out a bit more, it could have been a really, really good novel. The next book that I read, I mentioned in a Friday Reads video, and that is Firelight by Kristen Callahan. This was, again, one I picked up because I didn't know what to read. I was in a slump. Really, really enjoyed this book. It took me completely by surprise. It's sort of, it's set in Victorian London, and there's sort of paranormal elements in it. It's almost like Gail Carriage's series, The Parasol Protectorate. It's a bit like that. It was really, really good. This book kept up the mystery until like right near the end. It's about Miranda Ellis. Her father basically, he's in debt, and so he sells her off to Lord Benjamin Archer, and he's kind of a mysterious recluse. He wears a mask. He has some sort of disfigurement, but nobody knows what it is. Excuse me. And she's sort of made to marry him, but they sort of grow closer. She kind of falls in love with him, but you still don't know what he is or what's wrong with him until like right near the end. And it was so good. If you like your historical romance, if you like your sort of, not steampunk, but that kind of thing, oh my god, check this out. I had never heard of it, and it was fantastic. The next 2 books that I read were by Bella Andre, and they were books 12 and 13 in her Sullivan series. Book 12 is Just to Be With You, and book 13 is I Love How You Love Me. You guys know I love the Sullivan series. I started reading it like January last year, and I just love the series. It's a great adult romance contemporary series. I love it when there's a big family and each sort of member of that family like break off and they get their own story and their own romance. I love that kind of thing. Love that kind of thing. And this series is just made for me. I was a little bit disappointed by book 11. I didn't love it as much, so I was a little bit dubious going into book 12. I was like, is this series sort of going on a decline? But no, it was completely brought back. Absolutely loved it. If you haven't checked out the Sullivans series by Bella Andre and you like your sort of adult contemporary romances, go check this one out. The next book that I read was Cowboy, It's Cold Outside, and that's by Catherine Garborough. This was another sort of light, fluffy Christmas read. Again, I gave this one 2 out of 5. It's about a young woman who sort of sets up this cafe in this small Montana town, and her father just died and she's found out she's adopted, and so it's sort of throwing everything she believed, everything she thought she was, sort of is now questioned. And then she meets this guy called Trey. He's a photojournalist, and he says, you know, I'm only going to be here till New Year's, let's have some fun. And then obviously a romance sort of develops from there. It was okay, but again, it was short. I didn't feel like you got to know these characters. I thought that the protagonist, I thought she was hard on her family, so she found out she was adopted. I understand that it can throw you for a loop, but to then just sort of completely want to forget about them, to stop calling them Dad and start calling them Tony, you know, I thought it was a bit harsh. It was okay, again, 2 out of 5. And then the last book that I read in November was A Sweet Montana Christmas by Roxanne Snowpeck, and this was again supposed to be a light, fluffy Christmas read. I didn't enjoy this very much at all, actually. I gave it 1.5 out of 5. Again, it's about a husband and wife. He had his own finance firm and it's basically gone down the drain. And she's got the pressures of working in a maternity hospital, and basically their marriage has been under strain, so he goes to run his grandfather's like dilapidated farm, and he thinks basically they've separated, but she comes back to him and it's basically trying to work through their problems over Christmas. It just didn't really appeal. I didn't feel for either of the characters really. It just wasn't for me. So, pause for breath. That's everything that I read in November. This is going to be a bitch to upload. If you've read any of these books, wanted to read any of these books, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys soon. Happy reading.